overwhelming feeling that we often take on that we can't always pinpoint, and we really can't put our finger on it. But yet it's just like this weight on our shoulders, and that often has to do with the fact that we are taking on things that are outside of our control, that we're in essence trying to overcompensate with our children based on those things that are in fact outside of our control. So it's a real ambiguous feeling that oftentimes will impact punishment and how we punish, and going back to what you were saying before, where in trying to overcompensate for this feeling that I have of my own inadequacies, I am going to, and usually how it plays out is that we go into that permissive mode of allowing and not putting up the boundaries and not putting up the rules and not expecting things out of our children that we normally would, because we're trying to overcompensate again for that
for that guilt.
Exactly.
Do you think broken families have and experience a lot more guilt, maybe false or true, or a combination of both, because another parent's not in the home? Do you
I think it's one more dynamic that we deal
Sure.
with that does add to that. I
probably
certainly
the
think,
overcompensation, because parents are like, oh, well, dad's not in the home or mom's not here, so
and we see the pain that I always say that single parents are probably the greatest promoters of marriage and intact families, because we're living the issues that so we're not here trying to say, hey, this is this is how God intended. We understand that it's a difficult process, and so that even adds to it more sometimes.
Sure.
But what happens is we let down on those expectations and those things that we really need to focus on our children and what's best for them, because it's kind of it adds insult to injury, because they're already going through those issues and those difficulties. But then what we're doing is we're overcompensating, and we're playing into that, into almost a victim role sometimes with our children.
Yes.
Rather than saying, what, God put us into this position, this where we are for a reason. But He's always going to give us the strength and the ability to get through it and to deal with it and to become strong from it. And so, as a result of that, I still need to expect from you, rules and accountability and all of those, so that but that oftentimes doesn't play out that way because of that
so true.
false guilt.
That is so true, and you put it so eloquently, and thank you so very much. At this time, we will have to break, but we would like for you to stay tuned. We'll be back with more of Larry Taylor and his expertise in single parenting. Thanks again. More solutions and fresh perspectives. I'm La Petite Dee. See you shortly.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today.
I wasn't going to school because I was making money stealing cars. Well, I was 10 when I first got involved with drugs. I skipped school because, nobody cared.
When I first got pregnant, school was not important to me, so I dropped out.
Well, if I don't finish school, then I can't go to college. That's the whole point of what I want to do with my life.
I still need to go to school to make it for myself.
I think I'm happier now. I know I'm happier now.
Here comes the rain. We need a hat. And why do we need a hat?
When you talk with your child, you build vocabulary, and learning starts long before school does. For more tips, go to bornlearning.org.
Inactive activities on a glorious day. Huh? Let's get out there and play! Sweet.
There are lots of great play ideas online.
Welcome back to Single Parent, brought to you by Christ Our Shepherd Ministries. Thank you for joining us again. We have Larry Taylor, and we're going to just pick up with some of these extraordinary subject matters that we were discussing in reference to guilt and the single parent, knowing the difference between authoritarian versus permissive discipline, And you are clearly a pioneer and a trooper, 17 years, single
Thank you.
parenting.
I don't, it's usually, like I say, in spite of, not because of everything. God has certainly been had his hand in a lot of what the
Sure,
group has
trial
been
and error, and
involved in.
all of the sessions that you've conducted. And I'm sure that you have personally had some subject matters to come up that various parents have had complications with. Why don't you share some of the things, because I'm sure we have a viewing audience that are dealing with struggles with, you know, the roles, the parent, the single mom, the single dad, the separation, and the guilt, as you stated. Can you share some of the things that you see frequently? I mean, you've taught since 1998, so I know you have lots of experience.
I don't know how much of it is of value, but
No,
hopefully
very
once in a
good
while
information.
something might hit. But well, one of the challenges that we have, you know, getting back into that, the game plan and having the time to think through and the challenges of developing this, what we call game plan. You know, to build on that is, you know, one of the things that I encourage our parents to do is look at anticipated behaviors.
Okay.
And by that I mean, you know, when you think about it, a lot of the issues that we face as single parents really don't come at us as a surprise.
Yeah.
You know, bedtime issues, oh my goodness, I never would have thought that would have, you know, and all that. You know, and so, you know, in trying to develop this game plan, you know, we kind of do baby steps, you know, and so what I encourage is, you know, take those issues that you can't anticipate, that you know are going to happen, and build your own little game plan on that. You know, you know, take
So just
bedtime.
forward thinking.
Exactly, proactive.
Okay.
Proactive.
Oh,
Being
wow.
proactive. You hit it right there. You know.
Yes, yes.
It's usually when we're reactive that things
Yes,
do not
fall apart.
You know, because again, we're
So
going
true.
on emotions. We're not, you know, as
That is so
proactive.
true.
We can go on love, and we can go on
Absolutely.
on that the guidance principles. You know, what we were talking about. But the reactive element is when we usually throw all of that out, and we go into that anger mode and all those things that we really don't want to do.
Sure.
And so, you know, I encourage the parents that, you know, like say take bedtime issues.
Okay.
You know, and sit down, write out your game plan as to, you know, what the issue involves. What is it that you want your children to learn from the experience? You know, going
Okay.
back to what we were talking about, you know, what are the biblical principles that we want to instill? What are the value systems? What are the things that we want our children to take away from from the discipline, from our, you know, our parenting experience with them? I mean, and I mean, I believe that that's a mandate from God. I mean,
Yes.
that's a part of our
Yes.
job as a parent,
Discipline, yes.
and that does take thought. And so, you know, think it through and say, okay, bedtime issues. You know, little Johnny throws his usual tantrum and all that.
It's 11 o'clock and I still want to stay up and play with my
Oh,
toy.
you know, and so, you know, to be proactive, anticipate it, and even involve the children in the process.
Okay.
When you're not in the thick of things with little Johnny, you know, maybe, you know, prior, after supper or whatever, say, Johnny, sit down, you know, and, you know, I want you to understand something, and let's talk about bedtime, you know. I understand that you're having a great time, you know, with your toys, doing whatever, and I know it's hard for you to kind of settle down and think about going to bed because you're having a good time. But as a parent, God gave me a job to do, and that's to keep you healthy and to tell, you know, to make sure you get enough sleep. That's my job. It doesn't always agree with you, I understand, but I have to do what God told me to do with my job. And this is what I want to happen, you know, and I'm going to help you, Johnny, because this, and let me back up a little bit here. We need to understand what our children are capable of too, and that's another
Very
part of,
manipulative,
you know,
yes.
what, you know, for where their level of development is,
Sure.
you know, are we expecting too much? Are we expecting things out of our child that they really can't, you know, come through on? You know, if I tell my little 5, 6-year-old, okay, go get ready for bed, well, the time is relative,
Yes.
you know. I mean, the 2 hours later, I'm still getting ready for bed, Mom. You know,
Sure.
so it's understanding what they're under, you know, and say, okay, well, Johnny, you know, this is my job and this is what we're going to do. I will give you some time. I will tell you that it's getting ready. You know, I will let you have the time to finish up with your toys and all. I will put a little great thing with little
Timers.
kids. Yeah, are
Yes.
those the visible timers, not
Yes.
not the clocks, but
Yes.
the little. And I will give you, and I will, you know, and they'll catch on in a day or two, or when they
Yes,
see
they
that thing
do.
moving.
Sure.
And I will, you know, I'll give you this amount of time. When that goes off, I'm going to give you 10 more minutes to brush your teeth, get your pajamas on and all that. And if you do not do that, then tomorrow night, I will take off a half hour off your, and just let them know.
It's teaching them to
So that
respect
they
time
understand
management,
and have them in on it and say,